My name is Emily, I'm 28 years old, and just 6 hours after giving birth to my baby boy, my own family threw me out of the house. I never imagined the happiest day of my life would become the most painful day I'd ever lived through. I was still weak from giving birth. My newborn son was sleeping peacefully in my arms. I thought when I walked through my parents' front door, they would welcome us home. Instead, my mother looked at me with a cold smile. She didn't kiss her grandson. She didn't even ask how I was feeling. She simply said, "Emily, pack your things. You have 1 hour to leave." At first, I laughed. I honestly thought she was joking, but then my older brother walked downstairs carrying my suitcase. My heart stopped. I looked at my father, hoping he would say something, anything, but he lowered his head and stayed completely silent. Then my mother pointed at the nursery I had spent months decorating. She said, "Your brother and his family need this room now." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I whispered, "Mom, I gave birth this morning." She looked straight into my eyes and replied, "That's not my problem anymore." Before I could even process those words, my sister-in-law walked into my baby's room, picked up his tiny blue blanket and threw it into my suitcase. She smiled. That smile told me this had been planned for a long time. I felt my knees getting weak. Then my father quietly walked toward me, placed a small envelope in my hand and whispered, "Take the money and don't come back." I opened it. There were only $200 inside, $200 for a daughter they were throwing onto the street with a 6-hour-old baby. I held my son tightly, walked toward the front door, and stepped outside with nowhere to go. The door slammed shut behind me. I stood there in complete silence, holding my newborn, trying not to cry. Then my phone suddenly vibrated. I looked at the screen and froze. It was a name I hadn't seen in 7 years. To be continued. The hospital discharged me at 10:15 that morning. I was still weak. Every step hurt. My newborn son was sleeping peacefully in my arms, while I kept wondering how I was going to start my new life. I honestly believed my family would at least let me stay for a few days. I was wrong. The moment I reached the house, my mother opened the door, looked at the baby, and didn't even smile. She folded her arms and said, "Yon, you can come inside, but that baby can't." For a second, I thought I had heard her wrong. I whispered, "Mom." "What?" She looked me straight in the eyes. "Your brother and his wife need this house. We don't have room for you anymore." Then she pointed toward my suitcase. It was already packed. Everything I owned had been thrown onto the porch. Baby clothes, blankets, my documents, even my wedding photo was lying in the dirt. My younger brother stood behind her without saying a single word. But his wife was smiling, not a normal smile, the kind of smile that tells you she already won. She slowly wrapped her arm around my mother's shoulder and said, She'll figure it out." That's when I realized this wasn't a sudden decision. They had planned this before I even gave birth. I looked at my father. He was sitting in the living room, staring at the floor. He never defended me, not once. I begged him, "Dad, please say something." He closed his eyes and stayed silent. That silence hurt more than being thrown out. I picked up my suitcase, held my baby tighter, and walked away. I had nowhere to go, no money, no home, no husband, only my newborn son, and a phone with 3% battery left. I sat on a bench outside the hospital, trying not to cry. That's when I remembered something my late grandfather had whispered to me just 2 weeks before he passed away. "If they ever betray you, don't call your mother. Call the person whose number is hidden behind my old photograph." I had never understood what he meant until that moment. I opened my contacts and searched for a number I had never dared to call. My hands were shaking, and as I reached into my bag and pulled out my grandfather's old photograph, the picture was faded. On the back, there was a tiny piece of tape. I slowly peeled it off. A phone number, just 11 digits. I'd never noticed it before. I looked at my sleeping baby, then I took a deep breath and pressed call. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a calm voice answered. "I've been waiting for this call, Emily." I froze. I'm sorry, who is this?" The man replied, "Your grandfather told me this day would come." My heart started pounding. "How do you know my grandfather?" There was a long silence, then he quietly said, "Because I was his lawyer for 30 years. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "And my lawyer?" He continued, "Emily, Where are you right now? I looked around. I'm sitting outside the hospital with my newborn baby. He didn't ask another question. He simply said, "Don't move, I'm coming." 25 minutes later, a black luxury car stopped in front of me. A man in his 60s stepped out. Perfect suit, leather briefcase, kind eyes. He walked straight toward me, looked at my baby, and smiled. Then he handed me his business card, Michael Carter, attorney at law. He quietly opened his briefcase, pulled out a thick, sealed envelope, and placed it in my hands. Across the front, my grandfather's handwriting read, "Onis for Emily, only if your family betrays you." At that moment, my entire body went cold. I slowly broke the seal, and not knowing that the first page inside was about to destroy everything my family believed. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the first page. It wasn't a letter, it was a legal document. At the very top, I saw my grandfather's signature, then I read the next line. "Everything I own shall belong to my granddaughter, Emily." I stopped breathing. Everything, there had to be a mistake. I looked up at Mr. Carter. He slowly nodded. No mistake. He opened another folder. There are 11 more documents. I turned the page. A house, 2 apartment buildings, 3 commercial properties, a family trust, company shares, and 1 bank account. Worth $8.7 million. I couldn't believe my eyes, but my parents told me Grandpa left everything to them. Mr. Carter gave me a sad smile. They lied. They forged copies of the old paperwork, but they never found the final will. I felt tears filling my eyes. "So, the house they threw me out of," he interrupted me, "belongs to you." For several seconds, I couldn't speak. Then he handed me one final document. "This one is even more important." I looked down. It was a court order, already signed, already approved. My grandfather had prepared everything. It's years before he died. If anyone tried to take my property illegally, the court could immediately return it to me. No long trial, no waiting, no excuses. Mr. Carter looked at his watch, then he smiled. "Emily, I think it's time to go home." I looked at my newborn son, then back at the documents. For the first time that day, I smiled, not because I had become rich, but because the people who humiliated me had absolutely no idea what was about to happen next. Mr. Carter closed his briefcase, looked at me, and asked one simple question. "Emily, are you ready?" I looked at my newborn son, kissed his forehead, and quietly nodded. An hour later, our car stopped in front of my parents' house, the same house they had thrown me out of that morning. I noticed something strange. My brother's moving truck was already parked outside. Boxes were everywhere. His wife was standing on the porch, giving orders to the movers. She looked so happy, as if the house already belonged to her. The moment she saw me, she laughed. "Didn't I tell you she'd come back begging?" My mother walked outside, crossed her arms, and said, "Emily, I already told you this house isn't yours anymore." Before I could answer, Mr. Carter stepped forward. He calmly handed my mother a thick envelope. "Mrs. Williams, you've just been officially served." The smile disappeared from her face. "What is this?" Mr. Carter replied, "A court order." My father rushed outside, grabbed the papers, and started reading. His hands began shaking. My brother tried to snatch the documents, but Mr. Carter stopped him. "Don't touch legal property." For the first time, nobody said a word. Then my father looked at me. On his face completely pale, he whispered, "Emily, where did you get these papers?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "Grandpa left them for me." My mother's phone suddenly rang. She answered, and after just a few seconds, the color disappeared from her face. The phone slipped from her hand and hit the ground. She stared at me, and as if she had just seen a ghost. Then she whispered, "No, this can't be happening." Mr. Carter smiled quietly and said the words that changed everything. "The property legally belongs to Emily. You have exactly 1 hour to leave." My brother shouted, "You can't do this." Mr. Carter calmly replied, "Actually, we just did." At that exact moment, a police car slowly pulled up in front of the house. The police officers stepped out of their car and walked calmly toward the front door. My brother smiled. He pointed at me and shouted, "Officer! She keeps coming back to harass my family." One of the officers looked at him, then quietly asked, "Who is Emily?" I raised my hand. "I'm Emily." The officer nodded, looked at the documents in Mr. Carter's hand, and began reading. The entire yard fell silent. Not a single person spoke. After nearly a minute, the officer folded the papers, looked at my parents, and said, "These documents are valid." Then he turned to my brother, "You and your family must leave this property immediately." My brother's face turned white. "This is our house!" Mr. Carter calmly smiled, and it never was. My mother suddenly started crying. She walked toward me, trying to hold my hand. "Emily, sweetheart, we're still family." I slowly stepped back. For the first time that day, I wasn't crying anymore. I looked into her eyes and quietly said, "Family doesn't throw a mother and her newborn onto the street." My father lowered his head. Tears filled his eyes. He whispered, "I'm sorry." I looked at him for a few seconds, then answered, "You watched it happen and you said nothing." That silence changed everything. Within the next 30 minutes, my brother's furniture was carried back into the moving truck. My parents packed their clothes without saying another word. The same front door they had slammed in my face that morning had opened once again, but this time they were the ones walking out. I carried my son inside, placed him gently in his nursery, and looked around the room. Everything was exactly where I'd left it. I smiled, kissed my baby's forehead, and whispered, "Nobody will ever take your home away again." Later that evening, Mr. Carter handed me one last envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter from Grandpa. It read, "Emily, if you're reading this, it means I was right about them. Never confuse blood with love. Real family protects you. It never abandons you." I couldn't hold back my tears. I looked up at the sky and quietly said, "Thank you, Grandpa, for believing in me when nobody else did." That was the day I lost the family I was born into and found the family my son deserved.